Well, good morning, everyone in there. Let me take you out of there. You guys got a peek. You weren't supposed to see him. That's my special surprise guest. Well, how much of a surprise can it be? It was all over Facebook yesterday. Well, but anyway, nothing like in the flesh. We are live, and so is our guest here today. I'm so excited, so excited. It's been a while, and our guest, if you were paying close attention to the show opener, you would have seen a peek of him back then in his fluffy bathrobe from days gone by. Uh, it's a different time today, so neither one of us today will be in a bathrobe. Martine, because he's off to do great things today. Myself, because I had a little cameo this morning, you guys, over on Awake in Atlanta with Tim Ray and Shannon McVeigh down in Atlanta, of course, UI Media. And it was always a joy, always a pleasure to kick my day off with a good laugh with those two. So I encourage you to check them out, catch the replay, or pop over after the show. Do not leave now. That was not what I meant. Okay. So I want to welcome you to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I, of course, am Lauren Michaels Harris, your host, and I don't think I can think of a place I'd rather be anywhere else than right here, right now, with all of you. We are streaming live, as you heard me say, across the following platforms this morning: Facebook, YouTube, Roku, Android, Apple TV, Periscope, and of course, from our home base, E360 Television Live out in Phoenix, Arizona. Also, got to ring the bell of purpose and hats off to our wonderful friends, our sponsor for this week, Symposium.us. Troy Rocks, co founder of this wonderful app. I suggest you go over and download the Symposium.us app. This is where your conversation can become currency. You can turn your cell phone into a payphone. Now is the time more than ever before where a lot of people are needing to increase their income streams, looking for ways to do that from home, sheltering in place, stay home, save lives. You can still make money. Uh, Even in these hard times, if you get over and check out symposium.us, I have clients who are doing everything from storytelling things on there. They're tutoring kids on there. They are vision board classes, cooking classes, whatever you're proficient in. If you're an aficionado, right, if you will, an authority, get over and help somebody else and help yourself all at the same time. That's symposium.us, where conversation becomes currency. So, Bell of Purpose, new this season here on Bathrobe Moments. What this means is when you hear the bell, I'm going to throw this thing here up on the screen. And it means that we want to show our guests some love by hitting the hearts. And also, it's a great opportunity for us to become a part of something bigger, greater than ourselves. That means start a watch party, invite some friends, or simply share the broadcast. Whatever it is, you are helping get the wonderful message um, from our guests and from the comments that you guys post on the page. You're helping to get it into the hearts and hands of people who need it. It only takes one person to change the world, and it only takes one word within the perfectly structured sentence to change a person's life. Remember that. So when you hear the bell, get involved, won't you please? Without further ado, let me tell you about our guest today. Martine, okay, is it's phonetically Marteen, Martine Lopez. He's an author, trainer, and coach in the personal development industry. He has a book, and I love this title, The Curiosity Theory. I think it really speaks to what's going on today. It's a powerful methodology that radically changes the way we look at life, the way we look at ourselves, and the way we look at each other. And I think that this is where I want to head. First door I want to choose. Carol Merrill is standing in front of the curiosity theory because I want to know how we can use all of these things to come out the other side of this COVID pandemic, better versions of ourselves. So I can't wait to get into that. He's a trainer, like I said. He's worked with everyone from startups to corporate CEOs, high performance teams, as well as one on one coaching. Now, Martine's superpower is strengthening professional and personal relationships, as well as helping teams and organizations work together and more openly and more efficiently. So, why don't you help me welcome Martine Lopez?
How you
Hello.
doing?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. No bathrobes today. You and I are formal, like we're
I
gonna go to
needed a break.
Thanksgiving.
I did. I needed a break. I'm telling you. Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay.
I
Um,
love it.
I've been, to be honest with you, I've been here on the set before and was halfway through the show before I realized I hadn't put the robe on. People start saying, "Where's your robe?" So yeah, and I'm gonna head over there. We are and watch us on Facebook, the Bathrobe Moments page, so I can monitor the questions. Welcome to everyone who's here today. How are you, Wendy Meyer? Hi. So Martine, how are things? You're exactly where in the world?
I'm in San Diego, California, right by the beach.
Ooh,
Yeah.
so I bet it's been. Was it a little more difficult, you think, for you guys to lock it down, shelter in place, social distancing? Because you see, when they started it here, it was freezing. You know what I'm
No
saying? It's
problem.
still, and you guys are out there where it's sunny, and when it gets sunny here, people forget everything. Seriously, Lori Lightfoot, this Mayor of Chicago last week, we had a warm day and people were out on the beach like business as usual, and she shut it down. So have you seen, is it harder for you all because the weather's so nice to like stay put, lock it down?
I think it is. And one of the things that, so much of us talk about here in San Diego is like how we sneak on the beach, and you can't do that anymore. And the parks are all closed, and you can't even park in the parks. So you got to like park away, but now they have security in the parks, and
Yep.
it's
You get a $500 fine here now.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Lori
That's
Lightfoot, she's
interesting.
not playing with them.
Yeah. No, well,
You know,
it's they're saying that we're hitting the apex. So, if it's a good, that's we got to get ourselves healthy, just
absolutely,
got to do what it takes.
absolutely. So listen, um, I was just saying on Waking Atlanta, and I mention it here every day. I don't get into on Bathrobe moments really talking too much about all the doom and gloom.
Yeah. Good.
I really feel like we need to focus on what kind of world we want to live in on the other side of this thing,
Yeah.
what kind of people we want to become
Yeah.
as a result of living through this thing, and also what we can be doing now to help solidify what will be our legacy post Corona.
Yeah.
So, although I am considering going into the studio and recording my own version of my Corona. Well, I wonder why no one's done that. They got all these other things. Right? There's a freebie for somebody. No, but what I love about, let's talk about your book, because it seems like you very well could have been ahead of your time
Wow.
uh, with this, the curiosity theory, because people are more now than ever curious because we don't know. None of us have lived this before. So, of course, there's a lot of curiosity inside of our day to day life right now. And your book talks about how to harness that curiosity and take the positive from it. So, get into that. Tell us what some things you think could help us out here.
If we keep if our minds are closed and we're going to keep repeating the past, we're going to keep doing what we've done in the past, and that's all we have to pull from. But if we're curious, then we look in the present, and then we look at what the possibilities are in the future. What you just talked about is you just said, hey, let's not talk about this. Let's actually talk about our legacy. Let's talk about our future. And as I listen to you, I'm hearing you exploring, because that's not here in the moment. That your future is not here in the moment, but you can create your future based on who you are in this moment right now. And curiosity for me is how I listen to you, how I listen to what you're saying. And am I listening, trying to see how that actually applies in my life? No, I don't. I actually listen to see how it applies in your life, so I can learn more about you. Because when we're interacting together, when it's you and I interacting there, Loren, you're the one that's important. I know about me, and I could talk about me and do all that, but I know about me, and it keeps going on over and over and over here. I
Right.
find it much more interesting to find about other people and to see what's going on with other people. First off, I learn, I learn new things. I do new, uh, I do learn new things to apply to my life, because I'm learning them from you. New ways to look at things, new ways to, put things together. Like, oh wow, he says it this way. Great, I can now put things together that way.
Hmm.
Because who put all those thoughts together for me? I did. And
Right.
when did I start to put those together? When I was a little kid, when I was experiencing good and bad, when I was experiencing things and I made decisions about life. And I told my brain, I told my little brain, my little teenage brain, things are scary, things are bad, things, watch out for this, watch out for that. And I created this ego inside of me, this winning formula, if
Mm.
you will, inside of me. And my winning formula for 55 years, well, let's say I started it when I was 15. So for a good 40 years, it's been taking the advice and doing the biddings of a 15-year-old.
Hmm.
And now I'm 55 years old, and I'm being run by a 15-year-old. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
I live with a few teenagers in here. Um, I'm serious, but
Yeah.
let's let's hit this one. Let's pull out the hammer and hit the
Let's
nail.
do it.
That's the relationship nail. Because I saw that in your bio, and now more than ever, I feel that one of the positive benefits from all that we're living with now, within the restrictions that the world finds itself within, uh, is the fact that it's an opportunity to truly look at our relationship building skills,
Yeah.
because that's what you're dealing with right now. I was just saying over on Awaken Atlanta, I have had so much time to reconnect or do a better job of connecting. Because in many cases, it's not even reconnecting; it's
Yeah.
just connecting because I haven't done shit. Um, to let people know you're on my mind and why has it been so long and all these things. I've even started looking for people from my past, from the military, from college days, because I have extra time right
Yeah.
now. But I find that, social distancing, it's kind of ironic, isn't it, Martine? Do you feel it's kind of ironic that people are doing better with their relationships because they can't get up close and personal? It's, the distancing, in a way, I know in my world has brought me closer
Absolutely.
to a lot of people. Talk about that.
Yeah, because as human beings, what we have needs. The curiosity theory, we talk about human needs, and one of the fundamental needs for human beings is love and belonging. And when you
Right.
take that away, when you take away connection, when you take away, the ability to interact with somebody, then we start to crave it even more. And what my hope is, and what I see happening is, what's going to transform is it's going to transform the way that we were relating to people, this going from this to this, because we can text and we can do all this stuff on our phones and our computers. But
Right.
I think we're going to start to miss. I'm hoping that we start to miss this human interaction where we actually put our phones down, we turn them off when we go to dinner with somebody, or we go to breakfast with somebody, or we walk into a meeting with somebody and we say, you know what, I'm going to leave my phone in the car because the phone's not important. What's really really important is what's here. And I'm going to be curious. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to be curious about this interaction. I'm going to be curious about what I'm getting out of this for me, which is maybe a deeper connection, maybe a deeper appreciation for the person that I'm sitting across. And then what curiosity really does, it really has us be able to look and see what somebody's saying, be curious about what they mean, and to be able to give them what they in fact really want, what they desire, because we're being curious about what's coming out of somebody's mouth, and we're getting clarity about what's being said and what the meaning is behind that, and what the feelings are behind that, and what the deep need is behind that.
There's a key word right there. Need. Because need and want sometimes get awfully confused
Absolutely.
in all that we do.
Yeah.
And, need has a plan built into it.
It
When I
has a
need
what?
a plan, when I need to lose 20 pounds because the doctor said you need to lose 20 pounds or you're going to become a diabetic, then I know that I need to shop better. So, because I need to prepare my foods better in order to lose that weight I want. But if I just say I want to lose for vanity, or I want a new car, that's not going to make it happen. If I say I need a new car or I'm going to be walking soon, then I'm going to look at what I need to do to get it. I need to increase my income stream. I need to reduce my credit card debt in order to afford that car I want. So need and want can get confused in there. But right now, what do you say to this? A lot of people, I believe, because I'm finding it with the people that I coach. I'm finding it with people within my family dynamic, and I have seen it when I looked in the mirror at myself, in a positive way. Because I started working on this a couple years back. And I was just talking about this on the other show. How every Wednesday I would get in my car, and for the entire day, it would just spend whenever I was in my car on a Wednesday, it was just me with me,
Mhm.
spending time with Loren. No radio, no Sirius XM, no podcast, just me and me. And a lot of people are finding in this time that they aren't that comfortable being with themselves. So, what do you say about? Do you have any recommendations, or how important is it that we know the beauty and the value of spending quality time with ourselves?
Well, I'll tell you something. That's something I have been experiencing. I'm separated from my wife right now. We've been separated for about 6 months now. And
What?
And yeah, I don't really make things public because that's not really
Wow, I didn't
information
know
that I want
that.
out there. Thank you. And you know what it's what so we're gonna get real about what you're saying. And so what we have discovered, at least I can only speak for myself, so I can't say what my wife Yvette wants, or but what I've discovered is that the deeper need for family, the deeper need for connection, the deeper need for trust, and all the things that we lose, um, when we separate, all the things that we have when we're married, all the things that I take for granted, or and I can't speak for her, but the things that I took for granted. So and now being by myself, I sit by myself and I think to myself. And you go through the levels of maybe being lonely, maybe being feeling guilty, feeling all the different emotions that you go through. uh, and as a man, it's we don't really take time, I believe, for the most part. We don't take time to like see what those emotions are. We think the emotions, we use words for the emotions, but do we feel the emotions? Like, I've sat up in my room and I've just cried. I just, wow, just cried, and I allowed myself to feel that, because feeling that is different than thinking that.
So, Martine,
Yeah.
so what you just described, were there two versions of that? Because you said you guys have been separated for 6 months. So you had some time. You probably thought you had grieved and processed and everything pre-corona.
Uh-huh.
And then the virus comes into our lives and changes up everything.
Sure.
Did you find that there were parts of the puzzle that you hadn't even considered once this thing was amongst us, as far as like that relationship? I guess I could put it like this: did you find, you knew you missed your wife, or you knew that life was different, but did you see feel another layer to that once this thing happened?
Yeah, it was a deeper concern. It was a concern for my boys and my wife's well-being. But Yvette and I, we've come to a place where we are. I believe we are. We're good where we're at right now. We're good separated. We can talk to each other kindly, and we can be loving to each other. We're not making arrangements to get back together. We're not saying, hey, let's work our
Right, just
marriage
keeping
out.
it
We're
real.
saying, yeah, let's just be good with each other. Let's just be good to each other. Let's
Hmm.
just do that.
There you go.
And and
Ooh,
and
I like
and
that.
and the what has happened is there's been a way to look after each other, in a way of not having to be with each other, not having to profess our love and all that, but to have like what I think is the true love, which is the deep love, which is the deep concern and the deep wanting to make sure that she's okay. My older son is really upset with me, and I don't know why. He's been upset with me for a while. And he's I was reading some text messages that he sent to me, and I can't put them on Facebook because they're not very nice, and
The
they're not
sun.
very they're not very the wording is not very PC. But um
It's sunny
I
in
can
here.
allow him to. I'm allowing, my space right now is, you look great. You got a little bit
Is
of
it
glare
okay?
back there.
Okay, because it's
Yeah.
getting really bright in here. But go
Oh,
ahead. I'm sorry.
but what I do is I use curiosity for two different ways. One of the ways is I use curiosity to be curious about what he's going through.
Hmm.
The other way that I use curiosity is to myself, like, how am I relating to what's going on right here? Am I ignoring what's happening? Am I oh, but if I approach it this way, and I just impose myself on him and try to tell him how to be,
Hmm.
like, what's that all about? That's really all about me. That's not really about him.
About him.
So it's not necessarily a solution. It's just a way to open a door so that you can investigate. You can curiously investigate and honestly express. So if I was to investigate what was going on with him, if he was to sit down and talk, it would go something like, he would say what he would say to me, and I would just listen. I would listen and maybe repeat back to him, and just try to understand what he's feeling and what his needs are. Like you said, separate from his
Exactly.
wants. And the minute and how curiosities work for me is because it allows me not to impose myself on what he's going through. So I could be empathetic for what he's experiencing or anybody's experiencing, and not have to throw my own opinion about it. Like, well, this is how I look at it, or this is what I go through in those situations.
Right.
Which is probably not, he's probably not interested, because when I'm talking about something, when people tell me what they're going through, I'm, selfishly, I don't care. I'm just
Mhm.
trying to get out what I want to say.
So let's great stuff,
Thank
Martine.
you.
Thank you. I wanna ask this. Well, first of all, let me speak to this because relationships, and I pride myself in building great relationships and understanding the different layers of relationships. I used to think that um, every relationship I pursued was going to turn out and be the same, like like they all fit into the same canister.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They all had to stack up next to each other and look and feel and the same. And I find that no two are the same.
Yeah.
Um, but when it started getting better for me in my life, as far as relationships go, is I imagine them like I would when they were putting together, say for instance, the kitchen floor. You have your Italian tile, you're going to have a design, and they lay out all the pieces, and then but if you just leave the pieces laid out, it can be beautiful, but it's not going to be practical. It's not going to be functional
Yeah.
because everybody's going to go running across the floor like they will come running through our lives,
Yeah.
and pieces are going to go everywhere and get
Yeah.
broken, and the mosaic is going to change and be destroyed. But the only way to keep it in place is to pour the grout
Yeah.
in between the tiles. And the
Yeah.
tiles, each tile is an experience with that person. Not all are good, not all are hee hee ha ha. Some are sometimes tearful, some are painful. But the experience is what creates the relationship in its fullness. And so really that grout that we pour is what I love about that, Martine, is that when we have done that with a relationship, we can always go back to the very first tile. That's why people can divorce after 50 years and still be the best of friends. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, even on a worst case scenario, that's why on a deathbed, someone who was not willing to let go of something for 50 or 60 years, and I've seen it, suddenly finds the capacity to do so.
Yeah.
Because it's not how you start a race, it's how you finish it. So
Absolutely.
I
And
love
and
that.
and Lauren, sometimes people don't let go. I'll tell you, my father
No,
stopped
they
talking to
don't.
me for the last 6 years of his life. And on his deathbed, he wasn't interested in fixing our relationship. I went there to fix it, and I'm no saint or anything like that. And but I never understood I never understood as a child what the relationship was with my father. And I think that's probably why I try so hard to help other people have great relationships, because of the relationship that I had with my father, and what was missing in that relationship.
Oh,
And on his deathbed, I went there. I brought my family. I brought Yvette. I brought my kids.
mhm.
And my father literally looked at my mother and said, "Can you ask Yvette and Martine to leave and leave and walk out and leave the boys?" And that's what he said. And I don't know why he did that, but whatever reason he had was his reason.
Was his reason.
Yeah. And
And I will say this. That sounds like I'm not saying I know because I wasn't there, right? But
yeah,
in many cases, when someone is that, you know, not going to budge, just
yeah,
so a lot of times too, a lot of that mindset is steeped in generational cycles.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah,
the hardest thing to break,
yeah,
generational cycles. And, so if you couldn't do it for him, uh, because you can't, he has to do it for himself. You can always now you say you have a son that won't talk to you or is upset. So that's where I'd go. I'd start working on breaking because that's that
yeah,
generational cycle, in my opinion, rearing its ugly head
yeah,
again. And that's where I would go. You see what I'm saying? I'd go and pour
100%.
some grout, right? Pour
Yeah.
some grout around that tile. I'm putting that. I'm bringing the bell on that one.
So I'm
Don't get
loving
me.
that goodness.
Don't
Yeah.
don't get me preaching. Okay, just
I want
just
you.
saying.
That's what I'm talking about. This
Gotta
this
get the sun
programming that we had when we were 14, 15,
there.
16 years old, when we watched people interact, and then we then commanded ourselves to do that. And then what I hear you saying is, I call it the retraining of the ego, and this is what I mean by that. we're little. We give our we have these thoughts, and we give commands to something.
Hmm.
And what we're commanding is our ego, but we don't know that because we're just children. And then we see things happen, and then we go, wow, okay, then I need to act this way with this guy or this girl or these people or those people. And then we then create these habits, these formulas. I call them winning
Right.
formulas. And then as we go through life, we're not curious about where they came from. We just interact with these formulas that we have. So when we want to change, we don't realize that this formula that we created in our ego, which is one of the strongest parts of our human beingness, our subconscious, says, no, 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 no. I know you're not thinking about this, but I'm
Right.
over here thinking about this. And you don't want to walk down that street. And you're like, yeah, but my house is down that street. You go, yeah, but you don't want to walk down that street.
Hmm.
And you're like, but I live down that street, or I really want to go down that street, or whatever happens. And until we have what you just mentioned a minute ago, what I call awareness, until
Right.
we have some degree of awareness, we're not going to be able to notice what the commands we gave to us when we were younger. And how do you be curious about stuff that you don't even know? Well, what you do is you just start being curious about everything, and you start to discover, and you start to see, wow, that's interesting. I act this way. I won't even walk down my street, but I live down my street. I'm curious,
Mm.
where did that come from? Oh my gosh, when I was 16, these guys beat me up when I came, and it's you start to discover like the commands that we give to ourselves. And those commands, you think about racism. What is racism? Racism is a command that people give, and people take it and they keep going with it. And it's like, is anybody that's alive today the creators of racism? No, it's generational. It's
Well,
been given. They may take it on and go with it, but are racist? And I'm just saying, I'm just speculating. I don't know. I'm just being curious, okay? But does a racist go sit back and try to figure out, like, where did I even come up with this stuff? Is this even true? Or does the racist just keep following the command that somehow was given to him and he's
the
moving
preset.
forward?
Yeah. It's like the station was preset when they got in the car,
Exactly. And they have a
and they just,
responsibility for it, though.
of course,
Yeah,
of course. And that's, again, generational cycles. Okay.
exactly. That's what you
Oh,
said. Yeah.
I got a couple comments from some viewers. Christina Cash says that she goes, I've been learning more about people in 4 weeks than I've learned in 4 years. Amen to that one, ringing the bell.
Yeah.
Shelley, Lori Whitney says, forgiveness is healing in yourself and others in order to move forward. Listening to
Absolutely.
feelings is important. Past is always hurtful and hard to get past. Being stuck in the moment. People
Mm.
become stuck in a time zone. It's hard for some to move forward. It is hard for some to move forward. I want to say this. Um, it takes a certain kind of courage
It does.
to look over your shoulder to the life you've already lived. And that sometimes is why people like your father, and we all know one, I'm sure most of us have experienced it in some form or fashion. Maybe even it lives within us to some capacity, but it does. It takes a certain type of courage to look over our shoulder and really be honest with every one of those sidewalk slabs that we have laid as far as our journey behind us. Now, we may, I know I'm 50. Honey, how old am I? 57. I keep forgetting purposefully.
Yeah.
So,
42. 42. Go
right.
42.
I wish. Actually, I don't. I like where I'm at in life,
I do
and I'll
too.
tell
I
you
do.
this.
Yeah.
When you get to the point where you know for a fact, you go, okay, I'm 50 some years old. I have more life behind me than I have in front of me.
Mm-mm.
It becomes easier if you want it, and if you want it, the only way to know that you want it is if you're seeking, which is what I love about your book, The Curiosity Theory, because it ties right into we are already instructed that if you seek, you will find
Yeah.
in order to look for something. And I'll tell you something else. What I love about what's right behind you, that larger than life question mark. Now, there are people out there that are believers. There are those that are all different types. All of us hopefully have something that we believe in that is greater than us. And for me, that's it right there. I heard a couple years ago someone say that, if they don't see a question mark inside of everything, anything that they're choosing to do, an opportunity, something that is new, I look for the question marks because that for me is proof that God is in it.
Beautiful.
Because if I don't have any questions, it means already think I know everything about it. And if you already know everything about it, there's no reason for the sun to rise or to set,
Yeah.
because you already it will be no different.
Yeah.
So the question mark is proof that God is in it, because that's how I know I need him.
That's beautiful.
Because I'm never going to find all the answers on my own.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I still don't have access to them.
Absolutely.
So I love that question mark. It means a very special thing to me.
I
So
appreciate that.
tell us this. So why did you write this book? Were you just sitting around going, I'm curious? Uh, what it would feel like? What was it? What spoke to you and said, listen, this needs to happen?
I journal a lot. I journal a lot. I have, literally dozens, I don't know, probably 50, 60, 70 journals.
Wow.
And I just write. Like, I'll in the middle of the night, I'll get up and I'll write, and I just kind of write what happens. I'll write ideas that I have, kind of inventions, if you will. And one day, probably about 7 years ago, I was driving home from work about 4:30 in the afternoon, and where I live and where I work is just a few miles away. And I was talking to Yvette on the phone and trying to figure out where we wanted to go for dinner. And it was one of those conversations where do you want to go? And she's like, anywhere you want to go. And I gave her an idea. I said, how about this place? And now, and I'm like, okay, well, where do you want to go? I don't care, anywhere you want to go. And I gave her another suggestion. Nah. And so that went on 2 or 3 times. By the time I got home, I was a little frustrated, and my phone was sitting on sitting kind of right up here on the dashboard. And I hit the hang up button. I walk in the door. Yvette says, did you hang up on me? And I said, no, I didn't hang up on you. Did you hang up on me? I said, no, I didn't hang up on you. 5 minutes later, Yvette's in the bedroom playing crossword puzzles on her little iPad, right?
Hmm.
And I'm sitting in the living room watching ESPN on a Friday afternoon. Beautiful afternoon. The kids are gone. I was hoping we can go out to dinner, go out and listen to some music.
Oh,
We
okay.
got in a fight. So we were in a fight. I went down to the beach, live right around the corner from the beach. So I went down, walked on the beach, and as I was walking on the beach, I was trying to figure out why we're fighting. And as I went through that scenario, and it's in the book, the stories are in the book. And I think I gave you a link so people can download the book for free.
Oh,
And yeah,
okay.
I think I gave that to you. So I think it's thecuriositybook.com. I think that's the
Okay.
yeah, I
The
think
link.
that's the download. And you guys can download. It's an audio book, so you guys can listen to it. And so there's 3 different stories that popped in my head, and I realized that I was in these situations, in these conflict situations, and what happened in all 3 situations is that a question was asked. And as I'm walking on the beach, I'm going, wow, I got out of this conflict by asking a question. And not that I was just asking a question, but that I was actually being curious, or there was curiosity. And I thought, well, maybe I can apply that to what's going on with Yvette and me right now. So I jumped in the car, I went back home, and I walked in the room. I could see she's been really upset and maybe crying. And I said, I'm curious, what happened. And she told me what was happening, what I had done that day and how I'd acted, and how I'd acted that week and how I'd acted that month. And by the end of the night, we went out to dinner. She had told me all this stuff that was weighing on her about how I had acted throughout our relationship, how I had treated her. And the difference in that night was I was curious. I just kept asking questions. But I wasn't just asking questions. I was like really investigating, curiously investigating, like, wow, really? Like, so I did this. And so why do you think I did that? And she was telling me all this stuff. And I got to see how she saw me and how she saw our relationship, and how I interacted with her. And then we got home, and I got up in the middle of the night and I started journaling.
Hmm.
And she woke up probably around 4:30 in the morning to go get a glass of water. And as she walked by me, I'm sitting on the couch and she walks right by. And I say, honey, I've got a question for you. And she goes, what? And I said, I'm just wondering, like, why you told me everything that you told me. And she said, because I felt safe and I felt respected. And I thought,
Mm.
wow, that's really interesting. Like, curiosity creates safety and respect, like 2 of the main things that we want in life. And so I had been journaling for probably 2 hours. And when I looked and saw what I had, about 35, 40 pages of journaling, I didn't even know. And I had just written all this stuff. And I was back then I was in Toastmasters, And I did a speech that Friday, and I used the story. And my Toastmasters is all men, and they said, you need to write a book. This is a great story. You need to write a book because people need to learn how to be more curious. And so what I did is I hired somebody to help me write the book, and we wrote the book. Took us about 8 weeks to write the book.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, too, I want to just hit this one on the head too with the same hammer. Um, when it comes to being curious, it means that, it's a question. And so it's that's half the equation, having
Hmm.
the courage to be curious. But there's also the other half of the equation, in my opinion, where you have to have enough faith to be able to handle the answers.
Yes.
Because just because you're looking for an answer doesn't mean you're going to get the one you hope for.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And then a lot of people will get the answer and immediately turn it back around because it wasn't the one, you don't get to pick the answer for someone else.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's
But
exactly it. That's it in a nutshell. Is you don't get to pick what's going on with somebody,
right.
and
You
and
just you just
and
don't
and what's going on with somebody has nothing to do with you
at
until you
all.
make it about yourself.
At all. My birth mother told me that, and she, because I was dealing with depression when I found my birth family, obviously, and she said to me, she goes, "Why are you always so down?" And I was like, and she goes, you really put too much energy into caring about what other people think. And she goes, don't you know? Because I had an issue with my birth siblings accepting me because they had all grown up thinking I had died. So
Wow.
here I am back from the grave after 32 years, and it's just not easy for them to handle. But my mom said,
Yeah.
listen, don't you know by now that if something doesn't make sense to you, it's because it doesn't have shit to do with you.
That's it. That's absolutely it.
Instant light bulb moment for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And since that day, I let it go, let it go, let it go, frozen.
I
And
love it. So can I interject something right there?
yeah,
So what I do is I use curiosity right there. Right there is what I use curiosity. And then I say I'm curious what's going on with the other person. Let me give you a really quick story about that. So I hadn't talked to my in-laws, and I love my in-laws. I adore my in-laws. But I haven't spoken to my in-laws. Yvette has asked me not to do that, so I honored that. A few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, I reached out once the corona thing was happening. I said I need to let them know if they need me. And it took me about 2 weeks to call them. And none of what was the hesitation had to do with them. None of what I was hesitating and why I didn't do it had anything to do with my in-laws. It had everything to do with me. It had to do with protecting my ego, protecting some false sense of my own self and how I'm going to relate to what they say. And it was always they're going to say the worst thing, the worst thing, the worst thing. And until and what I did to actually make the phone call, when I actually made the actual phone call, is I just thought to myself, I'm curious what's going on with them. And it took the attention off of me and it completely put the attention on them. And if what they had to say is, you know what, you're a jerk and this and that, and we don't like you, we never want to speak to you again, blah, 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 whatever they would have said would have been okay because I wasn't there for me. I was there for them.
I want to ask you something because a lot of people get caught up, um, especially influencers,
Yeah.
and we're all an influencer or should be in one form or another.
Hmm.
But here, let me click over on my phone, back over to your bio. So, you had written this book before your separation,
Hmm.
and you had written this book as a result of that beach story. So then, somebody out there is asking, because I know in my mind I'm asking, um, at what point did you ever pick the book up during going through this thing that led up to the separation and look at your own information, your own
Yeah.
solutions for others? And because, a lot of people expect, and here it is, a lot of people expect those of us who pour this content out, they think that it makes us infallible, that we can, or we believe
I
that we
wish.
can. And a lot of people like us aren't able to. They say they're vulnerable, but when they make a mistake in front of the world, they have to hide it because they feel like they aren't supposed to. Now, I'll tell you this. First of all, that proves to me they don't know the fact that there are no mistakes. only miracles and blessings that are in the making. I have never made a mistake. Everything that has ever happened in my life, I now live on the other side of it and I look over my shoulder. I have that courage to look over my shoulder to
Mm.
every one of those moments and I say I would live them again a million times over just to have one day of what I lived today. So
Mm.
I know that there are no mistakes, but there are those who would say, "Oh, Mr. Martin Lopez, curiosity theory. How come when you told me in your book, this that and the other about a relationship and how to do this and um, aren't you the same guy about repeating the same mistakes over and over?" Um, so you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way we look at life, the way we look at ourselves, and the way we look at others. How does that did you go through that questioning of yourself moment, or did you go back and pick up your own golden nuggets and say, "You know what? Somehow I left this somewhere on the stage. I need to pick it up and put it back in my pocket." What happened?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll first off, thank you for saying that, and what you're saying, and I believe it all to be true. Um, I can't tell you how many times this book has been thrown at me, and by my wife, by my kids.
See, that's
Um,
what I was getting at.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, talk about that, please, because
You know, I'm a human being, and I am giving it my best shot. I am
there you
giving it
go.
my best shot, and I came up with an idea, and I'm grateful to Spirit. I'm grateful to God for what I know. But because I know it doesn't make me infallible. It gives me direction. But it doesn't. The curiosity theory helps you identify what's going on with you, and so what it gives me access to is access to my own truth. So this is what I mean. I look at life in three different areas: observations, feelings, and needs. And that's what I teach in the curiosity theory. What we observe. I observe something. So maybe I observe that my wife and I fight too much, and then I say things to her and she says things to me. And not very, very nice. It's not very, very nice. I observe that. So the fact is, I said this, and what I make it so observations is two parts: facts and meanings. The fact is, I said XYZ or I did XYZ, right? The meaning I make is I'm a piece of shit, or I'm a jerk, or she's an asshole, or she's a bitch. That's a meaning. That's just a story, right? The problem is that those stories affect our feelings. They've because if someone's a jerk, if you're calling someone a jerk, that's an expression of a feeling. You don't like look at somebody with all the love in the world and go, you're a jerk. You don't do it because it's a
Oh, give me a hug, asshole.
exactly. Yeah, we don't do that. And those feelings are connected to what we
Ah,
have as needs. And you call them wants, but I call them needs. And in the curiosity theory, we break down needs. We actually break down true needs
I didn't
and what
call him once.
not wants. We don't call them wants because
Right.
wants are
That's the opposite. That's where you don't want to go.
you're not going to die for your wants. Okay, so
No,
what
you
you
want
said
to go
earlier
to your
is
needs.
you're going to die for your needs, though.
I was gonna say you can be confused with somebody else. Right, because I go from a place from need. You know why?
Yeah,
I had to stop and make sure that didn't get out there.
yeah,
And that's what we all have to do because I tell people this. We organically communicate from a place of need. When your kids were babies
absolutely.
and your baby started crying, you and your wife didn't look at each other and say, "Go see what that baby wants." You guys said, "Ooh, let me go see what the baby needs."
Hmm.
He needed to be fed. He needed to be changed. You didn't
Yeah.
say, "Oh, he wanted to be changed," because he expressed what he needed,
Hmm.
and automatically and it
The best way that he could,
best way he could, and
the
it worked
best way.
exactly, exactly.
So
Now,
let me finish that what you're saying. So what I've done, what I've tried to do, what I have done is express to myself and to Yvette what I needed, what I wanted, and tried to listen the best way I could. And I'm still exploring that. I'm still navigating that. But if I took her, if I just like you had said, if I said I know how she is, I know I am, that's what it is, forget it. I would be arguing, fighting with her all the time. But because I'm curious about myself and I'm curious about what she has to say, then I can listen. I can listen to what she says. I can take notes and and I'll show you. The last conversation I had with her is right here. And I literally took notes when she's talking. Why? Because this is what's important, not what's happening here. She's saying what's important to her. And all she did is describe me a book that she's reading. That's it.
Mhm.
That's all she was. But but for her, it was important to tell me about the book and about what she learned in the book and what she learned about our marriage in the book.
Okay.
And now if I then go, well, this is how I see it, what does that have to do with what she's sharing with me? Nothing. Nothing at all.
I want to go back. I'm making a U-turn. I'm going
Please.
back down the highway of this interview to the mile marker 42B, where you talked about, you said, I've had this book thrown at me
Yeah.
by my kids and by my wife. Now, I'm going to tell you why
And
I said
friends.
that people can attempt to throw your content because that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That book is not just a book, that book is content.
Yes.
Now, see, we have a responsibility, any of us, whether you're a podcaster, a blogger, a vlogger, a speaker from the stage. Do you know how many times I've been in front of an audience and something came out of my mouth and I heard it for the very first time as it came out of my mouth? And I'm walking across the stage and looking at them like, and you'll see them go, ooh. And I'm like, I really want to stop. And I'll tell them sometimes I will say, you know what? That was a good one, right? And they'll go, yeah. I said, I just heard it for the very first time as it came through me. And that's key. Why is that key, Martine? Because people can't throw content back at you if we've done our jobs, conditioning people to know that content doesn't come from me. That's why I don't believe I can ever have writer's block. It doesn't,
No,
I don't think it up. It comes through me
through
on its
you.
way to wherever it's going.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
content comes to us on its way through us. So, if people can't throw something at you because it came through you, every word in that book came through you for you to learn too.
Absolutely.
So
How
people
about this?
think,
How about this? Somebody says to me, I don't really think your book, I think your book is full of shit because you're getting a divorce or you're separated.
that happened, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Okay.
and so what I have done is I said, I'm curious, how is what I'm doing in my life? I'm really curious. And I would tell someone I'm really curious. How is what's happening in my life affecting you? Like what's the feeling? And people have said it really bothers me. So I'd ask, like, so why? And people have told me because I don't want to get a divorce. See, people are not really telling me that they're disappointed with me. They're telling me what's going on with them.
Well,
So if I
yeah.
sit and if I defend what I'm going through in my own life, then I can't be present for really what's going on with somebody else because I'm now defending. But what's happened is people have told me, listen, I know you and Yvette, you guys are great. If you guys get a divorce, I have no chance because you guys are great. You guys to each other. She always say, "You guys are you guys
Yeah.
always smile."
But
So like, what? How am I going to survive? And so I'd be curious to
wait a
see what's
minute.
going on with somebody.
I don't, and I get it, but I don't
Yeah.
get it.
Okay.
Because the thing about it is, the book is called The Curiosity Theory. The book is not called The Life and Times of Martine and Yvette.
Yeah. But that's what people do. You see, that's what I'm saying. So people operate in three different areas, and they operate from their own self-interest, which is their own need. And it could be a need to preserve their marriage. It could be a need to be heard, a need to communicate, there's all kinds of different needs, right? We have different needs: a need for acceptance, a need for connection, needs for contribution, needs for awareness, needs for having fun, intimacy, play, autonomy. These are all human needs. And when people speak, they're speaking through their needs. And so when somebody comes to me and they say something to me, I'm interested in what their need is, because human beings, our language has a lot of problems with it. And the main problem is that we're not clear in how we speak. That I'm going to get off this call and I'm going to go back and listen, and I'm going to go, wow, I could have said this, I could have said that, I could have been more clear here. And I want to study myself and how I speak so that I can be more clear the next time. Now, I study the way I speak. I study what I want to say. Most people just say what they're saying. And how many times, Loren, have you been in a conversation where somebody said something to you? You said, oh, this, and they go, no, no, that's not what I meant. Or how many times have you said something in a conversation where somebody took it the wrong way? And
Oh,
so you had to all the time, right? So
all the time because I don't
so
candy coat.
yeah, absolutely. And so the curiosity theory is as access gives you access to be able to be curious about, oh, I'm curious, what did you mean by that? So when somebody comes to me and they attack me, I'm really curious about what they're feeling. Like, what is going on? Like, what's like, and this is like with the background. I'm really curious about what's going on with that human being that has them approach me that way. Because if I know that it's not about me, then what they're saying and what they're doing is all about them.
Right.
And I'm concerned about them. So I'm going to be, I'm going to be empathetic and consciously curious about what's
Oh,
going on. And
and
then they're
that's
going to
another
tell
thing.
me,
And that's another thing.
yeah,
I'm gonna just keep it real with you
yeah,
because you know what? I found I had a lot more time to give to those in the world that are really seeking once I quit investing in low yield investments.
sure.
Because I'm gonna tell you something. Another thing my birth mother Lucille told me is the first 5 minutes of our knowing each other. She looked at me and she says, "Boy," and I wasn't even a speaker yet. I was an event planner then. She goes, "You look just like your older brother Charles, and he has a silver tongue." She goes, "So you most likely you have one as well." But I'm gonna let you know right now. Number one, I'm too old of a cat to ever be licked by a kitten. And number two, I will never watch your mouth. I'm going to always watch your feet.
I love it.
I'm telling you, and she had a sixth grade education. So what I'm saying is this: it's not about anything other than our our sponsoring thoughts. If a person, if I say to a person, well, you don't have the right to, I didn't mean to make you feel that way, well, because I can't make them feel that way. But I also can't say that they don't have a right to feel that way because that wasn't my intention.
Absolutely.
If they say, nonetheless, Loren, what you said, that's how it left me feeling. Because it's not always what you say. A lot of the times, it's the spirit in which you say it.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I had to learn that the hard way. I used to be really bad with that. I had to be, and I wasn't, and it was because I thought everybody was really wide open to the truth. I
Mm.
now know that not everybody is. Sometimes you have to spoon feed it. If
Yeah.
you really are vested in people, leaving people, and this is what I get up and invest in every day. I promise you on everything I love. All I do is say to myself, my goal today is to leave every experience and every person within the experience a little bit, just a little bit better than the way I encountered them
Absolutely.
because I can't
Amen.
change everything. And we can't, we got to remember that every encounter is a two-way feed. I might not be responsible for dropping off. I might be responsible for picking up. Sometimes our own answers come dressed in everything but what we think it should look like. Who are they?
Exactly.
I know you didn't teach me this life lesson through her.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? So
Yeah.
I
I
really
love
thank
it.
you, Martine. I'm really proud of you, the work you're
Thank you.
doing, and the way you made yourself. You didn't have to say anything about this thing, and we would have never known about the separation and all the stuff behind it that we've talked about today. But you know what? Vulnerability is how you peel back one layer, you grow back six.
Mm.
Every step you take, uh, what is greater than you takes many more in your favor. So I am very encouraged. I thank you for everything you've given us today. You've given us a lot to think about. I know that. So you guys put some love on the screen for Martine Lopez. Where can people go to find out more or to continue the dialogue with you?
The easiest place to go is the Curiosity Theory, thecuriositytheory.com. You can find me on Facebook. That's a good way. I'm doing Facebook lives like you almost every day. Today
Okay.
is going to be one called the death of the ego, and it's going to be a lot about what you and I talked about earlier is how
Awesome.
we build our ego and how we do it. So yeah, just follow me on social media. That's probably the best way. I think it's Mr. Martin Lopez on Facebook. Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. Well, I'm offering you a turnstile invitation, which means that the door is always open here for you
Thank
on
you.
Bathrobe Moments. Um, uh, Stay safe, keep doing what you're doing, and you know, come back and tell us on the other side of the virus where things are going. Any new books coming up this year for you? What do you got?
Yeah, I've got two books. One of them's called Selfishness, and it's has to do with the ishness of self, meaning the expression of self, in that we have to put the mask on ourselves before we can help anybody else. And then the other one, somebody gave me a title, and so I'm still working that out. But can I
Okay.
say one thing really quick, Lauren?
Yeah.
You absolutely inspire the heck out of me, and I just want you to know that from me. I love you to death, and
Thank you, Martine.
I
That
get
means a
emotional,
lot.
but what you do for people, what you do there's not even words
Oh,
there's not even words to say that. It's the feeling, it's the emotion. It's like I just you're just such a blessing, and I love you to death. You're just
oh,
in
thank you.
everything
That
you
means
do.
a
So
lot.
yeah, God bless
Thank
you.
you. God bless you as well. I
Yeah,
really appreciate that. Seriously,
thank
I
you.
received that. All right. Thank you. Have a blessed day. Keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing great things. Thank you so much. Everybody, that was Martine Lopez, and we are just about a minute away. Join me back tomorrow morning as we round out our week here at Bathrobe Moments with um, Aliana Nathy. I think I'm saying her name right, but she'll correct me tomorrow. Trust me. Powerful woman with a powerful story, a great nonprofit that you will not want to miss hearing about. Trust me. Get out there now and do what it is we do. Love up on everyone you can, but remember, start with the person in the mirror. You cannot give others what you haven't been willing to give yourself. I'll see you tomorrow morning. God bless you now. Bye bye. Here we go. This was a great show. Thank you, Martine. Bye, everybody.